call the Town Plan and Zoning Commission hearing of September 13th to order. First order of business is to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have the secretary read the roll.
Chairman Aida.
Here.
Commissioner Camillo.
Here.
Commissioner Claffey.
Here.
Commissioner Minor. Commissioner Payne.
Here.
Commissioner Sierra. Commissioner Sobieski. Commissioner Talica. Commissioner Jangrave. Commissioner Fox.
Okay, for the public's information, we have a quorum. The commission is 7 members, and we needed a majority, so 4 is a majority. Unfortunately, we're all from the same party, but we'll get the sign regulation moving here. Approval of the agenda. I noticed some changes that the town planner would like to make.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to recommend we delete 3 items and add 2. The items to be deleted are approval of minutes from August 30. I finished editing them the other day, but I know you like to have the minutes several days in advance, so let's take that off the agenda for tonight, and you can approve it at the next meeting. And the 2 items of new business, for different reasons, neither of them are ready to go forward. One of them has actually been withdrawn because it needs some more work, and the other, they've asked us to just table it until they can get it ready for action. So I recommend you delete item 8A, minutes of August 30, and items 9A and B. And then to add, we just received today and then yesterday the 2 items on the desk in front of you, two petitions for 2 new items that require public hearings. One of them is for a church, and the other is for a zone change. So if the commissioners have any questions about them, I know a little bit about both of them. Obviously, we'll know more after the public hearing.
So this will fall under petitions for
Correct.
For scheduling.
Correct. So
Are these public hearings?
Yes, those are public hearing items.
Both of them?
Yes. So they'll be B and
so that'll
C.
come up under
Item 11.
11.
Correct.
Yes. New business will come
And we'll discuss them at that time.
It'll come up under petitions for public hearing scheduling, which is item 11.
Okay.
Section 11. Okay. So I recommend you. No.
So we took off the site plan modification at Willard Avenue and the site plan approval at Brockett Street.
Yes.
So it didn't even matter that, I thought.
Is there anything coming in under the Brockett Street?
Yes. In fact, that's the zone change application that you're going to be receiving tonight.
Okay.
And I can talk about that when we get to it.
Very good.
Isn't it a public hearing?
It will be. So what you do tonight is scheduling. I mean, I can explain to you what it is.
Yeah, but we can't get into it because it's a public hearing.
Right, but I'll explain to you what it is, and then you'll schedule the hearing.
But there won't be any public participation
Tonight.
for or against it.
Tonight.
It'll be
Correct.
For the next meeting.
Correct. It's
Okay.
just a housekeeping thing.
Housekeeping.
Right. Yep.
Housekeeping.
Okay, so we have some changes to the agenda, which the planner just explained. Next item is the public participation. Anyone from the public wishing to come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. I mentioned this at the town council meeting last night, and I'd like to mention it to you here at the table as well. I want to thank Mr. D'Amato and Mr. Minor for their patience with my emails back and forth the last couple of weeks. I certainly do appreciate them explaining things to me. And I had mentioned at the town council meeting I'd like to see maybe the town planner and the economic development director at a town council meeting once in a while to share some information that others here around this table that doesn't always get passed on to the town council. I'm sure it gets passed on by the liaisons, but sometimes it's nice to hear from the department heads, and the public likes to hear it as well. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak at this time?
Carol Lannis, 30 Harding Avenue, member of the Town Council. I have a question for Mike, and I know ZEO reports is on the agenda, but my question is how do you act on complaints. Can you just explain the process? Because I've gotten calls from individuals who have sent in anonymous complaints and nothing has been done, and they've been sent in numerous times because they don't want their neighbors to know that they're the ones that are filing the complaints. So if you can even do it during your report, you can explain how it's done so the public will know.
Yeah. So anonymous complaints, any complaint that comes in, we prioritize depending on what the issue is and what else we're dealing with or I'm dealing with. The trouble with anonymous complaints is if I don't have enough information or I have questions or I determine it's not a violation, I have no way of following up with that person to let them know kind of what we've come to. But when we get complaints that come in from either commissioners that we receive at the meetings or via email or people that come in or stuff that I get through my work with other departments, that takes a higher priority than something that gets mailed in by an anonymous person because I can't follow up and I'm basically left to my own devices on those things. So if someone wants to call and check in on stuff, they can call me. They don't have to give me their name. They can still call. I'm not going to demand that they give me a name. I'm not, we can have that conversation confidentially. There's no problem with that. But without getting into specific addresses, I can't tell you where they are. But
And I know that they're not on the report, so I know they haven't been acted on. And I know someone sent in photographs, and it hasn't been acted on. So I don't know when your mail comes in. Where does it go? I mean,
the central mailroom, I can.
But if it has your name on it, shouldn't it just go to you without being opened?
Yeah, I mean, I can honestly not recall receiving an anonymous complaint with photos attached in a really long time. So, yeah, it's possible they didn't get to me. I mean, I'm not sure, but they can get in touch with me anonymously directly, if that makes any sense.
That's fine.
But
I just want to know what the procedure was.
We don't throw them away. It's not as if we don't act on anonymous complaints. It's just that the folks that are calling in that have issues that are going on, and we try to get with those first. Mm-hmm. And I have a folder in my office for all the stuff that comes in via mail, and we look at them and we address them all.
Okay, thank you. I'll relay that message. Thank you.
Have them call me.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to know why can't we have those just appear on your zoning enforcement office report? You got a complaint, anonymous. You checked it out and failed to. It either there was a problem or there wasn't a problem, and then once it's on the report, then that comes to us, and then it goes online, and then if somebody was really looking, they would check to see that you did go over there and inspected the property.
Yeah, we would put it in as soon as we got it. It would go in, I mean, typically what we do is if we get it in the mail, regardless of, it goes in as a resident complaint. So, I mean, we can start changing them specifically to anonymous if you like that.
You're saying that so it could be just, say, a resident complaint.
Yeah. It would, everything, yeah, it would show up.
Everything is on the report.
Yes, everything goes in.
That's all I wanted to find out.
As soon as we get it, either myself or Cindy, we input it once it gets stamped in and received.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, so.
Any other people from the public wishing to speak at this time?
Hi there. I'm Kathy Braga. I'm the current president of the Chamber of Commerce. I've been involved in the Chamber for probably 17 years, and I'm the president as of June. So I know the sign issue is on the agenda, so I'm not really going to talk about that, but I just wanted to thank you all for all of the work that you've done, for hearing us, for working with the Chamber, for making suggestions, for hearing our suggestions. We're definitely grateful for that. I know the small businesses together bring the voice in to try and come to talk, and we're just so grateful for that opportunity. And of course, Newington is built on small businesses. I mean, we are a mom and pop wonderful community. So we just are thankful for that, and we know that just like when the people become legal drinking age, not everybody goes out and gets drunk. So I don't imagine that just because we get signs approved, that we are going to all of a sudden find ourselves having signs on every corner and every doorstop. So thank you again for all the time that you've spent with us, and I look forward to more fun in the future together. Thanks.
Anyone else from the public? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into the agenda, zoning enforcement officer report.
Okay, a couple of different things, just very quickly to start. I had a quick meeting with the town manager yesterday, just to let you know, the council has identified a subcommittee for the ZEO ticket ordinance that you guys had requested they start with, so that process is moving forward. I just wanted to let you know that had happened. And I have something that I want to show you, but I don't know if anybody has any quick questions on the report that they've received. Sure.
When, you'll get to, let's just I'm using 8 Butternut Lane for an example, page 2 of 4 on the
Yep.
top. Where are we at with that? This started back in April.
Yep.
Now it's September, last thing, citations sent. Where do we, is it, and it's a 2-part question. Will the new process that's hopefully going to get approved on how you do the enforcing and how your powers, will that for this instance, 4 months is a long time.
This particular process, this particular address is not going to expedite what happens here because.
No, I know that won't, but I'm saying when you get the next property of its like.
Yeah.
Where you're 4 months into this and it doesn't seem like anything's getting done.
So what
from a general resident reading this, they're like, geez, what the heck does our CEO do? And not saying
so
that,
what
but-
we have, so the options that we have obviously right now are we have a notice of violation, which is we've noticed that this is going on. We're asking you to do something. Then we have a citation, which is a fine, and then we have a cease and desist order, which is the last step. Once we send that out, our only option at that point, if we have no compliance, is really to send it to the attorney and we're going to court. So in this case, what the citation letter that was sent in August on the 14th basically states is that as of a certain date, and I don't have the date in front of me, they are going to accrue a fine of $100 per day. We did this with another property on Long Street. That is probably the most extreme tool that we have where there are violations on site. The owner hasn't submitted a plan, hasn't called, they're basically a ghost, and we have no other tool at our disposal. So every day that the violation exists, they accrue a fine of that $100 a day, and it just keeps adding up.
And that starts from the.
It starts from a date specified in the letter. There's specific statutory requirements as far as notice and receipt that we have to give them timeframes.
So I guess for me, if I looked at this, and that's why I looked at it, it was kind of like, well, we sent a violation was noticed in April.
Yep.
Inspection performed on that same day, and then you did another inspection a month later. And that's, I guess, your 30 days.
Right.
So what is sent to them, I guess, it's an inspection performed, but what then, did we send a letter on the 26th that they're in violation? It seems to me, I look at it as second notice sent, but when was the first notice sent?
The violation notice was sent 4/26. And then the code says that.
I'm sorry, I missed.
So the code says unregistered vehicles move from their site under their own power within 30 days. So they're given 30 days from there. So we go back on the 26th. The second notice is sent. Violation remains on the 1st. So in this case, there was one vehicle that was there that was removed. So there was partial compliance. So then what happens is basically the last straw that we send, it was on the 14th, which basically says, at this point, you're costing yourself money. I mean,
but I guess what I'm getting at is why is there such a 3-month delay between the second notice and then violations remain when you go back? Why are we not? We do the 30 and come the second 30. If you're not compliant, time to start. Because I mean, from April to if I'm assuming it's still out there. And I mean, this is an assumption of violation, but you're at 4 months for vehicles. I mean, there has to be a way to speed this up.
When did they start getting fined? Did they get?
It would have been. I mean, they're in that window now, but the notice would have gone out on the 14th of August. So, I mean, I don't have the date because it would have been specified in the letter. But at this point, they're accruing the fines. The problem is with everything, we try to get compliance, right? We don't want to run to court we send out hundreds of letters a year. So if you try to look at the situation and you try to figure out how can we coax them into compliance without having to spend 3 days a week in New Britain Superior Court. And so you just try to look. At one point, there were 3 cars. They got rid of one, so we thought there was partial compliance. I thought they were headed in that direction.
So,
we
okay,
hold off.
that brings me to my question. Can we in the future, when it's something of this magnitude, I have no other way of just looking at this report to say, well, it doesn't look like, I know stuff's getting done. So maybe we add a line and like, okay, 3 out of the 4 vehicles have been removed. We're giving them another 30 days to try to comply, or 15 days. Then it just lessens the public's, when they call and be like, this guy, cars are still there. You're like,
and
well, okay, now that's new because they did remove them on the 14th, and there's 1 left, and I'm giving them a little leeway because of whatever the circumstance is. That's in your, that's not for me, but when I look at that, and then then I turn the page and go look at a little different thing at 1669 Willard, which is a little more, I guess, in depth legally. It'd be nice to know that yes, there's a reason why that one started in March, and now we're in August, and a little more info. I can read that as okay. There's the town attorney's involved. It's just like Francis and all those.
Yeah, I mean,
so just a little more, I guess, more in depth, Mike, is what I'm saying. Can it be done in this software program or no?
We're somewhat limited into what we can do because we have very specific. This is an old program. It was done in Access, 2003. So this is what we've got.
We built it ourselves.
Okay.
The
We
IT
tried.
department.
Because some I see that sent the letter, observed it, sent the letter, got compliant.
The other thing that we are set up to do is that we give them a notice. There's really no other way to do it. We are telling them, okay, we found that you're in violation. We're asking that you remove the vehicles within X number of days of receipt, right? The post office will attempt that certified for 15 days.
And then I understand.
So that also slows us down.
Add those days
Correct.
in to his last.
Because I need to be able to show that we're
okay.
So there's a lot that goes. There's a lot. I mean, I'm also was working with the president of the association to see if there was any way that might speed things up. So there's a lot that goes into it. We're limited to what we can put in here.
Okay, let's use 1669 Willard.
Yep.
Is that in April you served by the marshal? Is that because it's an out-of-state owner?
No, that was because we were getting no compliance, but that was a much more. You're talking filling of
more
land.
major violation than
eminent
an
issues.
unregistered car.
So we had him served because we wanted it to be clear that we were serious. And I guess I can give you a quick update on that. We, myself and the town attorney were in court on Monday.
Okay.
And we went before a judge. The owner of the property was non-appearing, and our injunction was granted, and he was ordered to basically make us happy by the end of September, or we can enter the property and do what we think is appropriate. The judge was very concerned about the neighbors and what was going on there. So
They can have them remove the fill.
and lean. We're talking potentially over 1,000 cubic yards, so it's not.
Town's not going to do it.
No, but
okay.
the order
Leave the
will.
property.
Yeah, we can lean. But the order gives him the chance to come in and present a plan that ultimately he can come here and get approved, showing retaining wall and all these things that he needs.
What kind of property is this 16?
It's a residential property.
Right across from Stonehenge, that tan ranch house.
The concern is that when the neighbors go out their backyard and they're looking at 25 feet of dirt, I mean, they're looking up at 25 feet of dirt. And so it's just, with a lot going on there and soil that's just been deposited without retaining walls and all this other stuff, we're concerned that it's going to become a hazard, especially as we move into the winter and the spring. So that's why we decided, it costs money to use a marshal.
No, I know.
So,
I brought it up to show that there's length on this. This is a little more in depth, so I can understand as a commissioner the length and the process and the legal.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that the residents and the people for the public understand that there is a priority to complaints.
Yeah.
And
We
this
have to-
one is
we
definitely
have to
taking longer
prioritize.
than a car for sale on lawn. I get that.
Right.
So for 5 months, he's had 25 feet of fill on this piece of property. Is he spreading it out? Is he just leaving?
So my understanding is that he basically ran trucks for a period of X amount of days, brought it in, and was spreading it as it was coming in. So we caught the tail end of it by the time we were notified and actually were able to witness the trucks. But we thought we had a plan. We had an agreement with the owner to come up with a date of August 1st where he was going to provide us with an engineered plan of a retaining wall and how he was going to compact the soil to make sure that everything was going to be correct. So we actually went, the town attorney went to court and told the judge, we think we've got compliance, we're going to hold off. And so we continued it to Monday. And when August 1st came and went, and we had nothing from him, I reached out and I didn't receive any information. We didn't get a call.
Okay, I
So
got
we
it.
said we're going to go because we didn't want to potentially wait.
No, I just brought it up more, just my understanding also. Thank you, Mike.
So I have one other quick thing that I do want to show you. In looking at, we obviously have a new website. The EDC, TPZ, everybody's very focused on trying to maintain as business-friendly of an atmosphere as we can. And got to thinking of a way that we could make our regulations more accessible to the resident, the realtor, the appraiser, the business owner, so that they can understand kind of what we allow, where we allow it. And worked with our GIS guy to come up with a tool which is not live yet. It's only accessible in the building, but we're working on the security background stuff to eventually put it on the website. But basically, what it is it's like a zoning check. It's a GIS application which was built in-house here, and there we go. So basically, what would happen is someone would come in and they could
From home.
from home. Someone would come in, they would pull up this this map, and we took all the uses that are allowed in the regs and we broke them out. So let's say they wanted to come in and they knew they wanted to open up, they wanted to build a car wash,
Gotta use that. Oh, okay. No, use the
or we could use any of them. We could pick any.
car wash is good.
So let's say they say, I want to open up a car wash. So they would come in, they would select that, they would do a search, and it'll tell you the areas of town where we allow car washes. It tells you that it's a special permit that's required, and it gives you the section of the regs that pertains to car washes, so they can actually read what we have. The other thing that they can do
Pretty cool.
is they can search by address. So let's say you have a realtor or a property owner who's interested in marketing a property. You can do a search. It'll pull up the property and it'll tell you all the uses that we allow on that site.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And
That's
so,
good information.
yeah. So we're trying to make this book, which on a good day, a few people can read, and make it something that everybody can access. So
It's a new way to do it, is right
yeah,
there.
and so they can pull up all these regulations, they can view the specific section, and it'll tell them the criteria, so that they know what you guys are going to be looking at before they walk into our office.
How do you get it out to them to look at it?
So we
How are they going to know that this is
yeah,
available?
we're obviously going to get it on a bunch of different sections of the website. We'll fire it off to the chamber and just hope that the word will spread that way. We can
But
get it up.
you'll also see it on the website, or when they
Yes.
come like a building permit, like, oh, I want to pull a permit for this renovation of the smoke shop on the Pike.
They can see it then, too.
And that's
Yeah.
how it would, okay.
So Newington doesn't have any public-facing mapping software, so we are figuring out the best way to actually make this available. There's nothing we have now, so we're basically building this all from scratch. So it'll give you zone information, area. I mean, it'll give you that general stuff if you want to turn on an aerial and actually see it and kind of hover around and say, oh, I'm going to buy this house, but there's a business zone over here. What might go there?
What could go there?
That's the idea. So we've got it built. We just need to get it implemented. We'll let you know when it's live. But we're trying to bring these regs that we are always dealing with to the public in a way that they can make them, work.
That's
for them.
all done by in-house Newington staff. We didn't pay for a service to do it?
No,
Oh, wow.
I designed
That's
it.
nice.
Kevin in the IT department built it. And
Wow. Well,
was it.
kudos to him.
Yeah, he did a great job.
You did a great job designing it.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool, and we'll keep you posted on how that goes. And that's it. That's all I have for you.
Okay, great. It's good information.
Progress.
Thanks, Mike.
Anyone else have any questions for the zoning enforcement officer?
The progress circle, what happened with that?
We received an application, the zoning board of appeals received an application, an appeal of an order that I sent for 50 Progress Circle. We had scheduled the public hearing, and I got a call from the attorney the day before that he was ill and he wasn't able to make the meeting. So we set a special meeting for the 28th. So it should go forward then, provided that we have a quorum. I haven't heard back from all of our commissioners yet, so I'm not sure that we will. So it'll either go forward on the 28th. If not, we'll have to postpone it to the meeting in October if we can't get a quorum. So no official action on that, but we'll be sending notices to all the abutters again, letting them know just so they're in the loop. We've gotten some calls.
Yeah, I have too.
So everybody that I've talked to, I've said, you can either call me after the meeting and we'll let you know, but we're going to send notices out just so everybody's aware that we've rescheduled. And that's all for that.
I have a question in reference to what I sent to the two of you on Tilcon and their procedures and how they operate and what hours they can operate. Can you guys elaborate for me of how, I know at certain times of the year they're producing asphalt, and I know that's at night work, but I'm talking noise ordinances that, are above and beyond. Is there anything in our zoning that prohibits them from operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Per their agreement that they came and sat a couple months back to get reapproved for their biannual.
Oh, okay, well,
I'm hearing a lot of resident complaints in that area of 1, 2, 3 in the morning. I know in the summer they've got asphalt plants, and those will start to shut down come early November if it stays warm enough. And that I can understand, but I'm talking just regular. They're not blasting or anything. I know that. But
okay.
if you could just.
Yeah, well, let me break it down. Okay, first of all, there's nothing in our zoning regulations that talks about businesses or anybody having to cease work at any particular time of day. You can impose, the commission could impose that as a condition on a special permit if it seemed appropriate. Like if you get a quarrying request and you decide to approve it, you could put conditions of hours of operation on that special permit. But there's nothing in the zoning regulations that says businesses have to stop at 2 o'clock in the morning or anything. So the answer to your first question is no. There's nothing in the regs that says any business has to stop operation at some time of the day. As far as the noise ordinance, my understanding is that Newington's noise ordinance, which I'm not familiar with, I just have a general understanding of them. The noise ordinance does apply to Tilcon. They have to comply with the noise ordinance. That's my understanding. Now, like most towns, our noise ordinance is complicated and difficult to enforce, and allows what some people might think is more noise than I would want in my backyard. I remember a couple of years ago when the Bonefish restaurant was going great guns, and they had their dumpster service would come in at like 4 in the morning or something, and somebody complained. And at that time, I was familiar with the regs, with the ordinance, and I think our noise ordinance does, I know it does, say something about the earliest in the morning trash pickup can take place. So the town's noise ordinance it goes into some detail, but I don't think there's anything in there that would prevent Tilcon from doing what Tilcon is doing, but Tilcon is subject to the noise ordinance. So if somebody thinks that they're breaking, they should call the police, basically.
So is it enforceable by the police department?
Police.
Not us.
It's
in our regs.
That's why. No, it's not.
Okay,
when I use the word ordinance, I'm being very specific. Ordinance as opposed to a zoning regulation. Okay. Ordinance means, when I use the word ordinance, I mean a law that the police enforce. Okay. Zoning regulations are things that Mike enforce. Okay. And so it's a noise ordinance enforceable by the police.
I want to make sure I send them to the right people and not waste their time.
Go ahead, Tom.
I received a call from a resident that said that they talked to the police department about a noise problem and asked them to check it out for the noise ordinance. And they said that they can't do it because they don't have the equipment to do it. So what good is it to have the noise ordinance if we are not supplying them with the proper equipment? Or does the town have the ability to borrow that equipment from someone else? And should the noise ordinance be done by somebody other than the police department taking up their valuable time? Should it be done by somebody else? Or, because they actually told them that we can't enforce it.
Yeah,
if they don't have a decibel level reader, they can't enforce it. And I don't know many police departments that enforce that outside of parties and music.
And the
under
person
an entertainment
has to be
license.
trained in how to use it. It's got to be calibrated. It's a real complicated scenario. And I think at one time the health department here used to do it alongside the PD. I think the reason it went to the PD is that a lot of times noise ordinance violations happen at 2 a.m., at 11 p.m. when staff are not here. So, we've had some calls, and if it's related to in a couple of cases, it's been related to an activity that was not allowed, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if it's making noise because we don't allow it to begin with, so I can address it.
Yeah.
But if that's not the case, if someone just has a noise that they're hearing, I can't come out at 2 o'clock in the morning when they're hearing it because the turnpike's finally quieted down.
Yeah.
So I think that's why. But I think there's kind of two options. They can determine that it's a nuisance in the PD, and that's just sort of a general nuisance ticket. I don't know how that works with the noise ordinance, because it gives specific daytime and nighttime hours, daytime and nighttime levels, exempted activities, landscaping, it's
Just advise the people to call the police department
Okay.
and let them, because it doesn't fall under a zoning regulation.
And then one other thing in regards to, I brought up the last meeting I was at about, one was taken care of on some overgrowth, but I talked about that land that might be the town's, that borders Tilcon on Mountain Road, that grass, and was one of you said, well, I'm going to check with the town, see if it's ours. Remember, like the whole length of that property line, which is the whole Mountain Road, all the way from when you turn off right at North Mountain Road and you go all the way to the end. And then, I don't know if it's, one of you had said, hey, I'll check and see if it's the town land or if it's Tilcon.
I mean, we own the right of way. The rest of that would be theirs. The thing is, if we cut that down, they're going to be staring at like a 20-foot.
Well, I'm more of the concern of the overgrowth, and it's not being maintained on a routine basis. You still got to cut the grass of the right of way. You still got to maintain the bushes.
Well, if
in a way, if it's overgrown and
For sight lines.
for sight line, I mean, there's a lot. It's a lot deeper than just let me go check. I really just want to know, because if you're at that light and you're looking and Tilcon's on your right and you're looking up, what's that, Hartford Avenue,
Coming from Mountain.
or if you're on Mountain and you're going to turn on to Hartford Ave.
So you were talking about the intersection. The email that I saw,
No, it's the whole street. I mean, you got trees that some of them are like 4 to 5 feet. The limbs are laying 6 feet. You couldn't even drive a truck without being the truck on the other side of the road because the limbs are hanging out so far. And there's not much truck traffic back there, but those, you can see where sometimes where trees get their edging by the truck that goes under it every day, and it's just, it looks bad. It looks bad for the residents who have to stare out their door and just see overgrowth growing outside the curb of the street.
Well, so you're talking about the side of Mountain Road. Do you want to look at the monitor there? So you're talking about everything on the hillside here.
Yeah, that whole, as far down as you can go, even though you can take that road and get into Brentwood, that road still exists. I'm talking from once you turn off, keep going. Right from the Hartford Ave intersection, literally down to probably Bushnell and even farther, where all the residents look out at that, drive that road and see.
The overgrowth.
Yeah, it's just over. It's
I
just
thought you
over.
meant where the mountain is. But
I don't know
that
how the town handles how much they cut back, how much they don't. But typical overgrowth. I just would like an update because it surely doesn't look like that in other intersections where we have businesses with overgrowth.
Okay, I didn't realize where you
Yeah.
meant, but now that I know where you're talking about,
Maybe
I'll
just
look into
that
it.
whole Tilcon. I say Tilcon side. I thought it was
Right, I
their
know what you
land.
mean.
I thought they owned up to the curb.
No, nobody.
Nobody.
But like a residential house, you maintained up to the curb, even though it's in the easement of the town.
Right.
You don't ask the town to come cut the grass. You
Right, 'cause the
maintain
town's
it.
not
It's
gonna.
just-
Yeah, I don't think there's a parcel in between Balf and
Well, that's what I
the
wanna
right-of-way.
make- yeah.
I think they own right to the fence. The fence is built, and then it's town road right away. I think that's
Well, okay, please, let's see if they do. Because that's where also times where there's so much overgrowth, you don't even know there's a fence there, and that's maybe how everyone's traversing up in and causing problems in the,
Right.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank
All right,
you.
We'll look into that.
Okay, any other remarks or concerns for the,
No.
okay, seeing none, remarks by commissioners? Seeing none, we're into the public portion of the hearing.
Thanks, Mike.
Have the vice chairman read the procedures of the public hearing.
Procedures for the public hearing. The order of proceedings at a public hearing shall be as follows. A, convening by the chairman. B, the reading of the notice by the commission secretary or the commissioner designated by the chairman to act in his stead. C, identification and location of the property involved by the town planner. D, a statement of the issue to be considered by the chairman or the town planner. E, presentation by applicant limited to 20 minutes unless a specific extension granted by the chair. F, persons wishing to speak in favor of the application limited to 2 minutes per person. G, persons wishing to speak in opposition to the application limited to 3 minutes per person. H, rebuttal by the applicant limited to 5 minutes total. I, rebuttal by the opposition limited to 5 minutes total. During a public hearing, it shall be within the discretion of the chairman whether the time limitations shall be varied slightly, provided the commission consents to any such variance. In no case shall an extension be for more than 20% of the allotment indicated above or 1 minute, whichever is greater.
You read petition 2817 for the record.
Petition 2817, freestanding sign for Godgard School.
Is the applicant here? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and present your application, please.
My name is Ron Mavumko. I live on 128 Thornton Drive, Newington, Connecticut. The Goddard School is going to be located at 320 Alumni Road, Newington, Connecticut.
Did you get his name?
Yeah, he's the applicant.
Do you want me to go ahead? So right now, the building's under construction. We should be done by mid-October with the construction of the school. So for the sign, since we need the permits for it, we need about 6 to 8 weeks to give the sign company the time to manufacture and get the sign up.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, we sent in all the paperwork for the monument sign because you need the special permit for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have to put up the sign, the wall sign on the building. And I think you guys have a picture of that also.
Yes.
So I'm here for the special permit for the Goddard School monument sign.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at, we're allowed, 1 second. So we're allowed about 81 square feet of signage. The freestanding sign is going to come to 34 square feet. The wall sign will be 44 square feet. So that gives us a total of 78 square feet, leaving us with the 3 square feet. So keeping us under that 81 square feet signage we're allowed. So we're hoping to get this approved today. So we'll have a sign on the building when the school opens, just because people are driving down trying to look for the school and they don't see it. So we don't want to have any type of hazard happen with vehicles looking for a school with no sign on it at this moment. Is there anything else I need to add? I'm not really sure.
No. I'll turn it over to the town planner. There's some comments and remarks from Mike on the background that has where the applicant is requested to be on the directory sign. Why don't you address that?
Oh, okay. I don't know what you're referring to.
I'm looking at.
Oh, are we talking about the directory sign
Fifth
on?
paragraph on Mike's report.
Right. It's part of the package.
In Mike's report?
Yeah.
No, it's part of our package.
Right here.
The next page after.
Now I said they were coming up backwards.
Yeah.
So keep going.
Oh, okay. Yep. Sorry, folks. We're getting used to this new system.
They print out
agendas and
differently.
everything. Okay. All right. So.
With the big paragraph at the bottom.
Right. All right.
You have something to add about that?
Okay,
And
yeah,
you
so-
requested it, but
Yeah, so there's a monument sign on the corner of Willard and Alumni Road where they have a few of the businesses listed.
Yeah.
And that's also under 3 linear square feet, so it would keep us under, but we can't find out who owns that sign and how to get our name on it. I know I was speaking to Mike. He told us to speak to a lawyer who might have handled something before. That lawyer never returned a phone call. I talked to the sign people he directed me to talk to. They never worked on it, so it's just been hard to find out who owns it.
Talk to Jump On In, because they were the last one that put up their sign there.
Okay, so I
And
spoke
they're
to...
at the other end of the, what's that company?
Fafner building.
Yeah, at the other end when you the big warehouse there. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I spoke to Jump On, and they said they had nothing to do with it. They said I'll have to talk to their landlord
Or landlord,
to
yeah.
find out who did that.
That would be by,
That might not be for everybody on the street. It could
That's
be
what I'm
just for
wondering.
their, it
I
could be
think
just
it's
for their
only for the
development.
Newington Business Park subdivision, which
To the-
is that parcel
to the
in the
right.
front.
Okay.
But you could talk to them if you still have, I believe you have 43 square feet left for wall signage. Is that correct?
Well, yes, but he wants to be on the directory sign.
yeah, but that's what Mike's saying, he's part of that.
Yeah, Mike's saying that that what's the address here? 32 Alumni Road, 320 Alumni Road is part of the subdivision, so he is eligible. We just need to find out who owns that sign.
Right, and I could get to that. I could come back.
Does he have signage left over?
It's a different. It's a different
works
formula,
different? Okay.
right? It's a different.
All right.
Yeah.
That's fine. If you could find out who's responsible for it, and they'll allow you to have your name on there, we don't have a problem with that.
No.
Not
If
at
it's
all.
like the industrial park on North Mountain Road, then if it's the same, and it probably is, the town owns that sign. Got permission from the owner in the years past to put it there. The town owns the North Mountain Industrial Park sign.
Yeah, because that
understand
was
that, but
Oh, that's not what you're shaking your hand about. Oh.
those were town-owned. Those were
For town industrial parks, right? This is
town
a private industrial park,
parks.
right, right.
They have the Budney one we did,
Right.
and we did the one on Payne Road. Those are
Right, but
our signs.
this is different.
This
Okay,
is
'cause
a
this is a private industrial park.
subdivision.
Yeah.
He may have rights to it, and maybe Mike D'Amato has more information for you. You can reach out to Mike D'Amato, and he can fill you in, and then contact the owner of the sign.
Perfect. Yeah, I can reach out to him later. But I guess the biggest thing is just getting the other two signs approved. Because that one I could come back to later. The other one is just the monument sign and the wall sign, just because of the 6 to 8 weeks to get it manufactured and delivered.
Where's the drawing for the wall sign?
It should be there too.
Not in our packet.
I just have that sign.
Well, no, the wall sign, it would not be in your packet because.
Because it was already approved.
Well, exactly, because the staff approves wall signs. Mike approves wall signs, you don't.
We saw the wall sign
When we approved this-
when they
Okay.
when they came
This-
in for a part of their front elevation showed the sign, and we don't approve the wall
Those
signs.
numbers
Those are
match
approved
what
by
is
the
written
staff.
in
Correct.
all the documentation.
Correct, that's what Mike can.
Just for this sign.
So you don't need permission for the wall sign.
No, I
You just
said-
need them to make sure that it falls within the square footage.
Right.
And the only thing you need permission for is for this monument
Monument
sign.
sign. Okay.
And that was approved prior, the wall sign. You still have a wall sign calculation and
Yeah,
make
he
sure.
handles that in, the staff handles it separately from the commission. We saw what it looked like at the last, when it came in for the building and when we approved the building. But then, staff handles the calculations for the wall signs, and then they provided us with that so that when we, approve this, we'll know that he's not over.
I understand that. I'm just making sure because it is written that he is looking for wall sign approval.
Right, and if you go to Mike's memo, August 16, the second sentence under comments, with a maximum allowable signage of 80 square feet and a 17 square foot double-sided freestanding sign, which is what you're talking about tonight, the applicant will still have 43 square feet left for wall signage. So he'll be able to get a wall sign of 43 square feet, if he hasn't already.
Yeah, so I guess pretty much those numbers. I think we have 81 square feet. The freestanding sign is 34 square feet. The wall sign is 44 square feet, and it leaves us with 3 extra square feet to be used. So that we could probably use on the, if we ever could find out who does a monument sign on the corner of Willard and Alumni, we could use it for that.
Okay.
And if you want a picture of what it'll look like, I can show you. If you guys want to see what the wall sign's going to look like.
We saw it. I
You're saying
remember
it's
it.
been
If you want to
approved.
see it, Anthony, there's
right.
the thing. Okay.
I trust you. I'm just
Can we?
a little clarification on the verbiage.
You're all set, Mr. Planner?
Yes, just
Mr. Payne? Any questions? No? Okay, so we'll ask the public for their input, and then we'll close the hearing.
One last
Okay.
question.
Go ahead.
I can't read the site plan either on here nor there because you show me where this sign's
Yep.
going.
Yep. Hang on a second, let me,
Okay.
I want to rotate it. I want to rotate it counterclockwise. I don't want, well, I guess I'll just click it 3 times. Okay, so,
Alumni Road's at the bottom.
okay, so yeah, here's Alumni, and that's where the monument sign is going to go. Next to the driveway.
In the sight line of the,
No, because there's another 20 feet from the sign to the
Curb.
curb.
so where that little black line starts, okay, you got the thick line, which is the sign.
Well, this is
That's
the
the
curb.
street
This is the
line.
curb. This is the property line. Okay, and this is grass between the property and the curb, and the sign is going to go
On the back side of
Dark
the,
heavy spot.
some distance in from the property line.
It's
some distance. Is there a requirement to the distance?
No, but if I enlarge this, I believe it's.
You
It
wanna
won't
go-
interfere with the sight line, that's for sure, because the sight line is another 20, 30 feet down when you pull out
Gotcha, okay.
into the apron.
It's hard to read.
I can't tell.
7 feet in, or
Yeah, it looks like a 7. Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
Cool, thank you.
just sit down and then we'll have the public,
Perfect, thank you.
okay.
I was taking out.
Is anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none, is anyone in opposition to this application? Okay, what is the pleasure of the commission?
I make a motion that we close the petition 28-17 freestanding sign for Goddard School and move it to old business for action for tonight.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any questions, any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We're going to act on it under old business.
Okay.
So that'll be B. Okay, that ends the public portion of the agenda. We eliminated the approval of the minutes, and we eliminated
The tape.
new business. The 2 application 2917, which was for Willard Avenue, and 3017, the site plan for Brockett Street. We're into the next section of the agenda, which is old business. We'll have the Vice Chairman read petition 2417. Just read the
Petition
notice.
24-17, text amendment, section 6.2, temporary sign regulations, town plan and zoning commission applicant.
Turn it over to the town planner to have him explain what changes we made from the last meeting, and we'll proceed with any questions or comments from the commissioners.
Okay, so the version that the public is seeing on the screen, I'll describe the changes that it represents from the previous meeting. The first thing is an intent paragraph was added at the beginning. That's this section here. Okay. The next change was it was clarified that any tenant in a multi-tenant commercial building is eligible for a temporary ground sign, and not only tenants in plazas or in the town center, and that's section 622A. That's what this change does. The next change, paragraph C.
Can I?
Yes, yeah. Please do stop me.
What's the difference between you said in any zone, but then B goes and says temporary ground signs are not permitted in so that they're not going to be permitted on the Berlin turbine in the front yard setback. So what you just said that
which paragraph are you on? Paragraph A, B.
A you said that it's the whole town can have temporary signs.
Right.
But then in B,
Temporary ground signs.
yeah, temporary permit. A starts out temporary ground signs.
Right.
But then you said that's everything. But then B comes back and takes it.
Yes, but then
Out of-
takes away. Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Paragraph A gives to everybody. Paragraph B takes away from a few people.
from a few people. It's
from Berlin Turnpike.
pretty much seven.
We talked about this last time. It really doesn't, it doesn't really apply because the.
Or it's kind of moot because the sign has to be 5 feet from the door anyway.
Because the sign can't be any farther than 5 feet from their doorway, so it's really mute.
Kind of become moot.
Unless somebody came in and they had a special event, and then they would tell us where they wanted it, and then we would make a decision on a case-by-case basis. Is that correct?
So then does that, when you talk about B, does then subsection I come into play?
All right. Well, subsection I.
That's other temporary signage.
Right.
Which includes where you're going to, where I've seen more of the inflatables, banners, and stuff on the Berlin Turnpike.
Okay.
And we're not saying that they're not allowed in the front yard setback area or in the.
Well,
that's what
no,
we're saying.
Commissioner Pfeiffer raises a good point.
35-foot setback.
We're not, the regs, the draft doesn't specifically say, unless you see if it's in the fine print here, that other temporary signs, such as cold air inflatables or banners, attached to the building. They have to be attached to the building. Okay, that's why we didn't bother saying that they couldn't be in the front yard, because they have to be attached to the building anyway.
Well, if you attach a banner to the front of the building, that's in the front yard setback.
Well, it wouldn't be, because the building isn't.
The
Front yard setback is the 35-foot setback, front yard setback. So on the Berlin Turnpike, there's a 35-foot green space. That's the 35-foot that you're talking about.
Right.
Okay.
So the front of the building is going to be behind that 35-foot distance. And so a banner attached to the front of the building, which is itself, let's say, 36 feet back, is not going to be in the, could not be by definition in the setback. So there was no need.
The cold air inflatable could possibly be in a
No.
setback.
Well,
if it's over a foot. And you're
if
saying
it's a building that's right on the 35-foot distance and the cold air inflatable itself is like 2 feet thick.
You have to come in and present it anyway. So.
I'm just seeing how they coincide exclusively, or then they get taken out, but then you can put it back in.
And that's possible. I mean, we've ended up with some regulations that try to do an awful lot.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, yes, because we're trying to accomplish quite a bit with these regs, someone's going to have to really keep their wits about them as they read through the regs to make sure that they can do what it is that they want to do. And if someone gets confused by these regs, I can't imagine how they would, they could always call the staff and ask the staff to brainstorm with them a particular sign proposal.
I'm just saying my concerns will bounce back between I'm going to bring it up again, which is the banners and temporary.
Cold air inflatables.
Are they allowed in subsection C? You can get an inflatable that sits on a sidewalk in front of a business.
Well, no, because subsection C only talks about temporary ground signs. Section C is only temporary ground signs. Yeah, because they keep repeating ground signs.
But you can't, so then this will say that in a multi-tenant building, you can't have other temporary signage unless approved by the commission.
All temporary signage has to be approved by the zoning commission.
Well,
so let's take Best Market. That's my best example because everyone knows where it is. If someone, let's say, just for discussion, Garrett's Barbershop's having an event, they want to put a inflatable out on the front.
They got to come here.
That's why I want to make sure that is
All temporary
even
signs.
though we don't talk about multi-tenant buildings in regards to other temporary signage.
yeah, I see yeah, I'm working through your point, which is a good one. The reason for paragraph C, the reason that came into this mix was because we wanted to make sure that tenants in plazas
can have.
Exactly. That was the reason we created this paragraph C. I would say we didn't create it to make it harder for someone with a banner to have a banner on his portion of the plaza building. You really have a good point. Maybe we should even take out the word ground sign. Maybe we should just say all kind of temporary sign would be eligible under C. Banners and, well, cold air inflatables,
Well, those
theoretically.
are popular. You rent them and,
Because I don't think you certainly didn't mean to prevent someone in a plaza from being able to have a banner. on the front of their portion of the building. I don't
No,
think you
we did not.
But that's
Right.
where this starts to
But
separate
someone,
those.
right, yes.
And we've had enough signage people come in trying to get that little extra half a foot, and they bring their whole conglomerate of attorneys, and they cut up what Mike says, and then we look like egg on our face.
Yeah,
because
all right. How about if I add
I just don't
language-
want to start, well, we'll cut it out here, but then we can add it here, and then the applicant has to
Yes,
come in here,
yes.
and they do this, and then the applicant's like,
Anthony,
what am I doing?
yes.
Well,
Got
I
it.
mean, we've
Got
been
it.
dealing with this for
Yes.
6 months, and every time we get a new version, I still bring up things that you're like,
Excellent
that's
point.
a great
Let
point.
me answer
That's
it.
a wonderful point. That's a great point.
Well, this could go on forever because there's a million.
But here's how we
points
can
like
address
that.
your point. I can add some very brief language to paragraph I to clarify that someone in a plaza is not prohibited from having a banner in front of their building in a plaza. If that's
I don't know
what
how m- I mean-
if the commission is okay with that. Because I don't think it was ever your intent to prohibit someone from having a banner in a plaza, just because you wanted to make it clear that someone in a plaza could have a temporary sign, ground sign.
Where does it say that they're not allowed to have?
It doesn't, but as well, you know, your regulations, if it doesn't say you can, the implication is you can't.
The
So-
intent is that you-
Right,
it's the
so
intent.
Anthony makes a good point, that since we're making a lot of trouble, or going through a lot of trouble to tell people what they can't do, and what they can do.
Telling them what they can do.
Yeah. So, does the commission want me to add something to paragraph I
Let
to
me tell
make
you
it
this,
clear
I'm not
that?
a sign contractor,
is-
so
Yes.
I want the public to know that.
Go ahead.
No. I thought you were going to.
No, I wanted to hear what you were.
Oh, I was just going to say, so would the commission like me to add something to paragraph I to make it clear that tenants in a plaza can also apply for a banner? Yes.
Nothing wrong with
Okay,
that.
Okay,
okay.
can we do that as part of a motion, as a condition?
Yes.
Or part of a?
I have
'cause
another-
I'm not
I have
going to
another-
another
I think-
meeting.
I have
think-
another concern.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, let's address this one and then move on.
Have a-
Yes, I think that's a
Okay.
minor enough change that it,
You can make it
I
as
think
a,
I think that's a reasonable thing to do without having to go back, reopening the public hearing.
okay.
To clarify that we are giving this benefit, I think we can do that. All right, so, make note of that. Okay, paragraph I.
Affects all 25 feet apart. So if you have a business here, A, business B, door here, door here.
We've already been
Okay.
through all that.
All right, so that was paragraph A, paragraph B, paragraph C.
But I know, but
The reason
that means that if you're within that, you can't.
change to paragraph C.
You can. No, you can't. That's not what that says, Mike. That says two businesses that are less than 25 feet apart can't have temporary signs. That's what that says.
Let's address it at the meeting.
Okay, paragraph C, the duration of the ground sign was changed from 4 months to 3 months, and the duration of the renewal was changed from 4 months to 1 month. That was discussed at the last meeting. Okay. Then also in paragraph C, temporary ground,
Can you explain that a little more?
From 4 months to 3 months, and the renewal from,
Can't talk in the public here.
right,
Can't get
okay,
anybody
okay.
on the record here.
Okay. So at the last meeting, the chairman suggested that we change it from 4 months to 3 months, and that the renewal be changed from 4 months to 1 month. That was what the chairman suggested, so that's what's in the draft. Does the commission want to discuss it?
Well, the chamber asked for the 4 month to 3 month to keep it in a quarterly.
Oh, that's right. Somebody from the chamber suggested that 3 months is a more logical length of time, because most merchants think in terms of quarters of the year rather than thirds of the year. Okay, so that's why the chairman suggested that change.
Yeah, I don't.
What's the problem with the 1 month period? One or more additional 1 month periods? They want four months with that too?
Well, that's what
Or
the
do
draft had been for the last couple of versions have been
Or do you?
for the same amount as the rate, as the first approval. The renewals would be for the same amount of time.
Yeah, I don't remember saying that.
Oh, okay, well, maybe I misunderstood you. Okay, you didn't mean to change the renewal?
No, didn't say that. I
Oh.
said that if we went through the record, I'm sure that we would find that I never said 1 month.
Okay.
So let's
I
make
don't
that,
remember
Okay, so I'm
let's make that 3 months.
Oh, I just misheard you. Okay,
Let's
good.
make that inconsistent with the initial period of 3 months, so let's make that,
The renewal
3
is
months,
also.
3 months.
Okay, good. Okay, I just misheard you. Okay, good. So,
So we'll make that part of the condition, one of the conditions of the motion.
oh, yeah, there is, yeah. Okay. Good, okay.
Okay, keep going.
All right,
You went over C already?
yes, yes, okay.
Why don't you go over E?
Well, there's one more thing in C that I want to talk about. Temporary ground signs on town-owned sidewalks. Temporary ground signs may be permitted on town-owned sidewalk. Well, yeah, this was new from the previous version. As long as the applicant has obtained prior approval from the town manager and agrees to provide proof of insurance that names the town of Newington as an additional insured. Okay, because that was something that the commission wanted.
Yep.
Okay. The next one, paragraph E, temporary ground signs can be no taller than 4 feet versus the 5, which is what I had originally suggested.
Okay.
And then paragraph F, temporary ground signs shall be placed not more than 5 feet from the main entrance and shall be not less than 25 feet apart, because there are some cases where the front doors to 2 different businesses in the same plaza are a few not that far apart. So this rule will make sure that there can't be 2 temporary ground signs any closer than 25 feet apart, which theoretically will mean that somebody's not going to be able to have a ground sign if you keep that in there.
My concern with it.
So let's talk about that.
Back to, you take Best Market Plaza, you have some doors that lay left, it's a left entry, and other businesses are a right entry, and those doors could be 45 feet apart. And then you get to the smaller, and they're within 10 feet of each other, those 2 businesses can have ground signs. Or one can,
And the other cannot, right.
but then you may not get another tenant for 3 tenants down that can have a ground sign. The 2 in the middle are out of luck.
Right.
That you have a lot of parkades that have that. Mountain Road has it. North Mountain Road has it. Anywhere we have a parkade, you're almost limiting how many ground signs you can have with that verbiage.
Right.
Just letting you know.
But you could also have, in those situations where you have the doors that close, you could have them where you're tripping over 50 signs right in a row, too.
But you're trying to make a temporary ground sign for the betterment of the businesses in this community, but then we're tying their hands right up. If you're the first one to get the sign, you get it.
We talked about this in the meeting. I think Stanley brought it up. Something about since they would be coming in, and if that did happen, and that 2 tenants wanted it, that they would have to somehow share or alternate. It's going to be rare that both of them are going to want it at the same time.
Well, that's an assumption on the commission's part.
Well,
we don't make laws on assumptions or
How would you like to change it?
Well, if you're going
Mr.
to allow
Claffey?
businesses to have temporary signage and come in and pay the fee, get the insurance certificates, and
So
and
you
come
don't
and
want
get
any,
it.
you don't want any restriction between the distance between signs?
For the business.
Yeah.
If business
So
A,
you want to take out the 25 feet?
why would you put it? You're hindering your businesses with it.
okay.
I mean, that's my opinion.
As long as
But I don't have to.
As
I don't-
long as it's safe next to the doorway, you're saying? So as long as it's within 5 feet of the doorway, and if it's not impeding traffic or pedestrians, and it's safe.
Well, that gets into a whole
We kicked
other.
this around through the public hearing portion. Unfortunately, you
Okay, well,
didn't
you can-
attend
you can-
all of those meetings, so we didn't get that input at the time of the public hearing. Now we're at the time to put together a motion, and you want to start changing the intent
Oh, I wanna
of what
make
was
sure that-
talked about at the public hearing.
Okay.
Okay? We all agreed that the 25 feet was a necessity because we would have signs lined up, and unfortunately, the businesses will have to work it out between themselves, or they'll end up where someone doesn't get a sign.
And a way to compromise that is if there are two merchants less than 25 feet apart, the first one who applies gets his 4 months, but if his neighbor also wants a temporary sign, the commission could just then refuse to renew the first one and let his neighbor get the next 4 months.
Have you thought out what you just said? And
Yeah? What?
So the legally could say, no, we're not going to give it to you because we're going to give it to him.
Yeah. We're going to be fair. We're going to take turns.
That okay.
Yeah, I don't
All
have
right.
any problem with that.
You guys are fine with it. I think it bodes not well for the
Well,
businesses of this town.
And
but
the other,
it's my
I don't-
opinion.
It's a good point. The other, I don't know if remedy is the word, but because the landlord is going to have to sign the application, to some extent, this is going to get duked out by the tenants with their landlord before the application even comes to you. So the landlord is going to have to work out a way that's fair for all of his tenants if he wants to keep his tenants.
I think what you're overlooking, Anthony, is that this is not a temporary sign regulation. This is a permanent sign regulation. If someone could come in and apply for a 3-month period and come in and apply for another 3-month period and another 3-month period, that's not a temporary sign. That's 365 days a year. That's a permanent sign.
I agree with you,
we
Frank.
went from no signs to temporary signs to permanent signs. I mean, there's got to be some give and take here. I mean, we can't have it where we want to be business friendly. But we don't want it to the point where we have 50 signs lined up right in a row where you can't even walk on the sidewalk either.
But you just said it. We're trying to do a temporary sign requirement, but it could become permanent.
Yeah.
A business could, at their 4 month is up, go in, get reviewed. There's another 4 months up, and now you have an extra 12 square feet of signage for the year. That's a permanent sign. You're right.
Yes.
So
yes. And that's the way that we wrote this regulation, to accommodate the Chamber of Commerce and the businesses in the town of Newington. But we can't give it. I mean, you have to have some semblance of to try to control it at some point. I mean, or just say do whatever you want.
I don't think I'm saying that, Frank. I think Mr. Commissioner, I think I'm saying that this temporary sign is unfair to certain businesses in a plaza where they don't get to pick where their door abuts and how far they are from their next tenant.
And that's something that the owner of the plaza or the landlord will have to work out with the tenants.
Okay, the next change, paragraph G. Originally, the way I wrote it, temporary ground signs that are displayed outside of normal business hours, which is a violation, or in the street right-of-way are subject to confiscation by the town. That was overreach on my part. We can't confiscate a sign, even if it is illegal. That's on private property, as the chairman pointed out. So I deleted that phrase. We can only confiscate them if they're in the right-of-way, which we do and we will continue to do. And then a couple of new paragraphs. Paragraph J, temporary sign permit applications must be signed by the property owner as well as the applicant, if different. And paragraph K, one for sale or for rent sign not larger than 6 square feet is allowed in any residential zone. One for sale or for rent sign not larger than 9 square feet is allowed in any commercial zone. Such signs must be no closer than 10 feet to any property line. Now, this regulation already exists to some extent. We already allow for sale signs in residential zones, and they have to be 10 feet from the property line. We don't currently allow for sale signs in a business zone, which I thought was, I didn't even realize that until we talked about it at the last meeting, and then I went back and looked, and sure enough, we don't allow for sale signs in the business zone. And as the commissioners know, if the regs don't allow it, that means you can't do it. And yet we obviously have plenty of commercial properties with for sale or for rent signs. What this regulation would do would be create a rule that everybody would have to start following, because right now it's kind of the Wild West. Property owners are putting up signs in business zones all over town, but there's no regulation allowing it, so which means technically they're illegal, but we've always not done anything about them. If you adopt this regulation, there will now be a policy, and all of those for sale or for rent signs on the Berlin Turnpike or Willard or Main Street, any that's bigger than 9 feet would be illegal and have to be. They would get a notice of violation from the town, and they would have to take it down. If you want to do that. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Yeah, if I could make a suggestion, I think I asked last time. The 9 square feet is 3 by 3 for real estate signs. Most of the real estate brokers put up 4 foot by 4 foot signs. I'm wondering if we should extend it to 16 square feet maximum so that we don't end up with massive companies not conforming. Just a suggestion. I don't know how everybody feels about it.
That would be for commercial.
Mm-hmm. That's
Commercial.
only for the commercial zone.
Correct.
Right.
That would be fine. I have no objection to that, but
That's where I thought we were going with that.
if they're using the sign to sell a piece of real estate, not as an advertisement sign that stays up for 6 years after the property's been sold. I mean, we see them all over. One particular company has them all over the place, and the places are either sold or they've been there for months, and some instances years, the same sign.
Well, and the argument could be made, and it has been made in conversations I've had with people, that in the modern era, in 2017, there is no need for a commercial property to have a for sale or rent sign, because if a business is looking for a new location, they're going to go online. They're going to go to the realtor, and the realtor will go online. All of those for sale or for rent signs, if you notice, it's got a big logo of the real estate company. That's really advertising for the real estate company. It's not really. I mean,
So it's going to be incumbent upon the zoning enforcement officer to look at these as the properties are sold, to go to the companies and say, okay, the property's been sold. It's been 2 to 3 weeks. Get the sign down.
okay.
You got to start telling them that they can't have them. I mean, the mobile gas station, it's been sold for like 6 months, 8 months. They're working on it, and they got that sign there, and then they got a sold thing across it. We know
Well,
it's
if you want
sold
him
because-
to do that, then I think you need to give him the tool to do that. You need to put and I don't know how you would, but you need to put some kind of a deadline on here. Then the sign must
Signs
come
must
down.
be down 30 days after property has been sold
Well,
or
after
leased.
after the contract to do it has been signed but not yet executed. You know, in business, it's not a black and white. And believe me, people will play that game. They'll say, well, Mr. Zoning Enforcement Officer, yes, I have a contract to purchase the property, but it hasn't been executed yet, or they play games, and it'll be very hard to enforce.
You could just with the town, just when the sale is filed.
No, that's too much work. Just flat out 60 days. You got 60 days.
Okay.
That's too long. I mean,
60
2 months. 2 months after it's sold. I mean, we're looking at
No,
these
you meant
things for
2 months period total, or did you mean 2 months after it's
yeah.
either sold or under contract?
Right. So 45 days? Or you don't think 30 days is enough?
It's not the amount of time I'm talking about. It's how do we enforce whatever the number of days is that you come up with.
It's sold, it's under contract,
30
sign
days.
Okay.
comes down after 30 days.
30 days.
What do you want to do?
How are you going to know
Yeah,
it's sold?
30 days is more than adequate. I mean, come on. These
Right.
so many signs.
How's Michael or the CEO at the time, whatever, is going to know
Right.
when that property is sold
Right.
or
He'll
under
get a call he'll get a complaint from one of the commissioners saying this sign has been up for 6 months, because it's never going to be 30 days. It's
True.
always going to be something
I
in
agree.
excess of 30 days. A good example is the mobile gas station.
Right.
That sign should be down.
But we'll be reliant on the honesty of the broker to admit when we come to him
Well,
that
there's
yes, in fact.
Well,
he does have
obviously that sign should
There's a
come down
website
because it
anyhow
says
for that.
it's
Mike has
sold and it's been.
access to
There's
What's the
there's a
regulation
sign
on
that-
removal?
it. Well,
there's
when
a-
they say sold.
It says sold across the sign, and that's been like that for 6 months. It's been
Mm-hmm.
sold. So he's obviously beyond the 30 days.
Okay.
So I'm
we
not
can-
trying
we
to
can
make
try
it
that.
hard for real estate people, but it's to the point where these signs are basically advertisement for the business. It's not trying to sell a piece of property.
Okay, so how many days after?
Days.
30 days? Okay. Okay, there was something else I wanted to tell you about, which actually wasn't a change, so I didn't put in the memo, but at the last meeting, we talked about how big a banner should be, and we talked quite a bit about the Stu Leonards and how much they have. And I was asked to determine the Stu Leonards, their holiday sign, how much square footage that banner is in relation to their property. And actually, it's exactly, where's the banner? That's I. Yeah, 1 square foot for each linear foot of the building. Yeah, that banner actually is, the math, it's a coincidence, it actually is 1 square foot.
360 feet long?
Yeah, well, the area, whatever the width times height.
Probably more than 1 foot high, so it's not 360 feet. It's probably
No, what's the length of their building?
That wall, I think is 80 feet. I did all them.
Can't be 80 feet long.
Well,
the sign is 6 foot by 60, which is 360 square feet. Their
Yes.
banner.
right.
Their banner
Right.
is that size. But the length of the building, on the end of the building, not the front of their building, but the side of the building.
The one that's facing the street.
Facing the street.
Right.
where they put the banner.
Where they put the
Banner.
banner was supposed to be measured up,
Yeah, we did all that, and with this new
depending on
computer
how long
system,
it was, whether it's 250 feet long, 350 feet long,
right?
and use that as a reference.
Yes, and let me.
It's more than 80 feet long.
All right, let me go to my notes in here because hang on a minute.
So that's going to, it's important to know that because that's
Yes.
going to determine what
Yeah.
we use
Yeah,
for
let me
the
go there.
percentage for everybody else.
Yeah.
Is there a motion written for this?
I didn't see one. I didn't see it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'll go back to the office and get that for you.
Might as well get one for the other sign.
I'll do
too.
one for, yeah. Okay, the banner is, there we are, okay. The banner is 5 by 50, which is 250 square feet. The wall is 240 feet long, so the rate, it's actually, it's a fraction over 1 foot.
All right, so 1
Yeah.
foot works then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's a little small. He told me it was a little bigger, but okay, that's on file for 5 foot by 50, 250 square feet. Okay, so that all works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay, so,
Do we have a motion?
no, we don't. Let me run back to the office and put one together for you. And I'll do one for the,
Gonna do it with those-
for the Goddard School.
Yep.
Yep, okay, I'll be right back.
Can we,
For dinner.
no. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can we still discuss a couple things without the planner here?
Yeah.
I'd like to know what the commissioners feel about, since our temporary signs are going to be enacted, most likely tonight, how you feel about having our zoning enforcement officer report to us every 2 weeks with a report on the signage, so that we can stay on top of it.
Yeah, just like his regular.
Yeah, except we get it once every other meeting, right? Right now, we get it once every every month. We get it once a month.
Yep.
So what I'm saying is, wouldn't it be better to stay on top of it and get the report on a month, on a,
Come from him instead of
Every
bringing
2
him
weeks.
in every 2 weeks?
well, if we don't bring them in, then how are we supposed to explain to them what we have for problems, or
Right.
plus get a report from them? He came up with a map for going around the town and checking certain areas. So don't we want to get reports from him, right from him, on how that's proceeding and everything?
Yeah, every meeting. I don't know why his boss can't do it.
I don't know
We're
if,
going to bring staff in for something that really Craig
because
is
Craig
his
doesn't.
boss, I guess.
Yeah, but he doesn't. They don't. I don't think the zoning enforcement officer tells him every little aspect about what he's doing. So I mean, the only way we can gather that information is by having him in here. And if we have it at the beginning of the meeting, I mean, I think it's a good way to stay on top of the temporary signs. I mean, I know I've been experiencing, and I'm sure you've experienced, where there's a lot of temporary signs out there that haven't been addressed, and that's why we asked them to come up with a routine to go out twice a week and do the enforcement. Just a suggestion. We could wait.
Well, we'd start it, and as we get control over it, or not we, but
I guess
as
if we.
control gets put onto it, then it could lessen and be just like the regular TPZ complaints or CEO complaints.
Yeah, I mean, we could institute it, and then if we find that it's not necessary, then we could stop. It was just a suggestion.
Does the chamber do a mailing to their people every month? To all your people that are an email blast? Could you email, if we approve this, could you blast this out to them so everybody has a copy of it? Huh?
It's $25 fee for. Yeah, I'm kidding. Yes, of course we could blast.
Yeah, that would be helpful, because I was trying to think of a way that we could get it out to the businesses, and I was thinking of even having something printed that he could hand out. The zoning enforcement officer could hand out to someone that, say he sees someone that has an illegal sign, he went in and say, hey, here's the sign regulation, and it doesn't have to be this regulation is small enough that it could be printed on a card, maybe this big, and say, here's the regulation that you could follow when he goes to pick up someone's sign that's illegal.
Warning of, hey, you may not have known.
Yes,
regulation.
I'm sure
Here
that,
it is.
yes,
And they come back.
Right.
No problem.
right. Yeah. What do you think of that? Have them print the.
I think that's a good idea. The handout, as he's doing enforcement, and he has been told to send out, give 1 or 2 warnings to somebody and make sure that they understand the regulations before they start finding anybody. So I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, if he goes to a business that has an illegal sign, you just can't, you go in and say, hey, listen, the sign does not meet the regulation. Here's the regulations. Would you remove the sign? And 99% of the people will remove it and they'll comply. And then you get the other couple of percent that don't. And those are the ones that show up on the report. We'll have to bring that up to
give it to Minor to let the zoning enforcement officer know to draft something up.
I think it's 600 square feet. How much is this? 15 by 15 is 225 square feet. I think it's 600. Is that a typo? Yeah, that's right. It has to be. Okay. Let's make sure my eyes weren't.
There's a mistake?
No, nothing on what we're talking about. Something, just a typo on something coming up later. Nothing. I don't think it has it. Yeah. It's like that. Doesn't seem right.
Or move ahead to public participation. Move ahead to public participation. Frank?
Yeah, we could move ahead to public participation at this point. Is someone from the public wishing to come forward again and talk? I'm sure she does.
She can call in like she did last night.
Huh?
She called in like she did twice last night.
We've opened it up for public, we're jumping ahead to public participation if you want to come forward, and we know you don't want to miss an opportunity to talk.
Rose Lyons, 46 Alton Drive, and this is premature because you haven't voted yet, but it's been 5 painful years, and I hope you bring it to a close tonight. I have never had a root canal, and I hope I never have to.
You just did the 5-month one.
Yeah, I did. Because sitting here, and no disrespect, but an observation that these meetings have been going on for a while, and tonight I heard things brought up that were brought up before and brought up many times. And I find it disturbing to me to hear those questions and then have a vote taken by people that still, and people are going to vote on it that still have questions. It's just very disturbing to me. The other thing is the signs. I know that the town is exempt from signs regulations, but I've noticed in the center of town that the Parks and Rec Department has made some changes to the signs that they had there. They have their own now. There is an administrative letter 35, which we spoke about back when I was questioning the signs in the center and attaching the EV signs to, and you said you had no control over them. I noticed at Clem Lemire, people complained about the sheets, and now there's no sheets. But now everybody and their brother, whoever has soccer, the brawlers, or this one, or that one, they're putting up signs. I'd like to know who it is that gives approval to the Parks and Rec to put up the signs. Or is everybody on their own and they can just do as they please? Like I say, 5 years in the making for the businesses, but the town just seems to do whatever they want to do. And that bothers me. Thank you.
Well, it bothers us too, Rose, because you know that a good example of that is the digital sign. We're told everybody no one can have it, and then the school puts one on the. And trust me, there would be other ones if there was other ones that came. They wanted one at the library, and we went crazy. We talked to some of the counselors, and they stopped it.
Like I said, I've said it before, if you're going to require businesses and residents to stick to the rules, then I think that the town should be held accountable for the way.
We drove by that Clem Lemire on the way here tonight, and it was like, what the hell are we doing? I mean, there's 7 or 8 signs there, and these aren't just little signs like this. These are 8x8 pieces of, these are 8x8 or 4x6 banners that
And
are.
I'm not saying anything that I haven't said to their faces at Parks and Rec, because I made the suggestion that Clem Lemire sign is old. Get a couple of signs where you can advertise the programs that you have.
We're not done with the sign regulation. We're done with the temporary signs, but we're
Well,
going
that's-
we're
I
going to
mean-
go into the other portion of the sign regulation.
But I'm, like I say, I'm talking about the
suggestion that
town.
we have, we're going to bring forward is that we would like to see some areas in town that are specifically set up for the nonprofits and these type of things where they would be able to post. Instead of, how do you say, you drive around town and you see the one for Pete Lavery, the motorcycle thing. Well, those are all illegal signs, but I'm not going to say it to anybody that take those signs down. We have one of our commissioners has them on his lawn. I mean, but if we had a place where 4 or 5 places around town where they could post on town property, like we put up a big sign and they could post stuff on it, then maybe that'd eliminate all of these signs stuck on every corner in every right-of-way in the town of Newington. I'm good. Another one, there was the Holy Spirit Church, the Women's League had some kind of a tag sale, and then they had a bake sale, and then the Boy Scouts have one out there now that in the next couple of weeks you could sign up for Cub Scouts or something. How do you tell these people like they can't have them unless you provide them with some place to put it? I mean, so we're going to be talking to the Economic Development Commission and see if we could work with them to try to get some locations and then bring it forward through our liaisons to the town council to see if we could get something set up. Because
This is talked about for many years, and even the people on the other side of the turnpike would like to have some information in their areas as to what's going on.
I'm not talking just about one place at like Clem Lemire, and it's got to be you have to have some kind of tell them that it could be only a certain size, because I mean the ones at Clem Lemire, they're like billboards.
I know, and it hits you as soon as you're coming down New Britain or down New Britain Avenue to take a left onto Willard. It's like boom, it's right there.
Yeah.
It's staring at you, and it's not very pretty, I don't think.
We're not going to let it go. We're going to
And the town
talk
planners
about it tonight with the planner to see if we could get a meeting with and have at least the chairman of the Economic Development Commission come to our next meeting or next couple of meetings and see if we could start putting something together where they do some legwork for us and find some locations for these type of signs, these type of display signs for the town.
And the town planner's not here, but I had asked last night, too, at the town council meeting if anybody has heard anything regarding Veterans Landing, the assisted living that was proposed years ago on the Veterans Hospital.
Haven't heard a word.
Okay. There might be one or two things that I forgot, so I might come back. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else from the public wishing to address the commissioner, public participation? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Just one quick thing.
Go ahead.
I don't know how quick it is. I've asked this question, or I want to mention this. Mountain Road, I agree with Commissioner Claffey that there's a problem there. And I noticed coming down Connecticut Avenue and Mountain Road, when you come to the stoplight, you can't see the stoplight because of that. But I've called the highway department, Tom Malloy. I don't think it's anything that the TPZ really needs to get involved in. Pick up the phone, call Tom Malloy. He goes out, he decides whether it's the state or the town that's responsible. I had him clean up on Lewis Street when you come out of Price Chopper. You couldn't see or go into Price Chopper. I went in the wrong way because I couldn't see the do not enter sign. It was so overgrown. So I don't think that's something. And just last but not least, in Section C of this, and I know it's on the agenda, but the word may and shall, I just want to clarify, if it says may be permitted, it means it's at the discretion of the TPZ or may be permitted by the town manager. It's at their discretion. and when it says shall, it will happen.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
You used the whole roll of tape.
Making up for the lost time. You see me leave the room, you call public participation.
That's why I did it. I thought maybe you wouldn't hear us.
Good luck.
Looking at those
Huh?
commissioner remarks, or hey, it's regarding those Clem Lemieux signs. Some of those have no affiliation with the town, meaning
Yeah,
they're
one's,
not Park and Rec.
well, it's a
like
waterfall,
lacrosse.
one's a waterfall festival, that's Park and
But what I'm
Rec.
saying, there are many during the year. There, a lot of
Was it
those.
the town?
Okay, can I finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of the signs there are private sports organizations that have no affiliation other than renting the fields of the town. So technically, it's not
The town.
it's not the towns, and they're big. There's a lacrosse one that's got to be 10 or 12 feet long. In the spring, it comes out, and they put it up there. I mean, I think they think that they're allowed to because they rent the fields or use the fields and have an agreement with the town. So people then start to imply that, I can put my advertising sign up. I mean, that's what a lot of those are. But I do agree. There's some for the Lavery and different sports organizations that are run by the town that would come under civic or town. I just want people to know that.
I'm very concerned about the ones that Clem Lemire, but I'm more concerned about the little wired cardboard ones that
like
are stuck.
The Cub Scout one.
Yeah,
or
are stuck in all the right-of-ways.
I agree.
mean, that's what I'm concerned about because they never come in. A lot of these people put them up and they never take. The event happens and they never
fly
take
in
them
the air
down.
and you get in your tire.
Take them down.
Well, I think it's important for us or the town council to find a half a dozen locations in town. I mean, we already have, I think there's 2 or 3 4x8 areas where nonprofits can advertise. I think we could use another 6 areas, maybe coming in from Weathersfield, coming from the turnpike somewhere. I'm sure we could come up with a half a
Those
dozen
are like
other
the
locations.
white ones we see in front of CVS at the town green. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to provide the churches, the social groups, Kiwanis, Chamber, all those social clubs, plus the sports, a place to put their signage. And if we provide them that kind of space, then, like the chairman says, maybe they won't put out as many small temporary signs somewhere else.
We were discussing while you were gone, we went into public participation and we got some feedback from the public that, concerned about the signage at Clem Lemire. Some of them signs that are at Clem Lemire Park, where the ballpark is, where they used to put the sheets for.
Oh, yes, right.
Well, now there's 7 or 8 signs, and I'm finding out now that they're not affiliated with the town. Some of them are just sports groups or something that have these massive signs on the fence there. And they're not just small, they're huge banner signs.
So,
So we were talking about having the Economic Development Commission, in conjunction with the zoning board, try to come up with some locations where we could put on town land where we could put up like bulletin boards because we're finding all of these signs like that at Clem Lemire, plus the signs that are in the right of ways, the little wire signs, the cardboard ones, and they're all over town. I mean, there's the one for Pete Lavery for the motorcycle ride. There's one for the Boy Scouts. There's some for the churches have the Ladies Guild, there's tons of them.
Right.
And I think we have to provide something for these nonprofits.
Yeah.
So I would like to have, invite at least the chairman and a couple of, whoever she feels fit to bring to our next meeting so that we could discuss it, so that maybe they could start as part of what they do to come up with some locations, and so we could brainstorm a little bit and have them do some of the work for us.
Okay. All right, I'll do that. Okay.
Right, we're going to go into back to old business, and we're going to have the vice chairman read the motion for, this is a draft motion for the temporary sign regulations.
Petition 24-17, text amendment, section 6.2, temporary sign regulations, Town Planning and Zoning Commission applicant. Excuse me. I move to approve with the following changes. Petition 24-17, text amendment, section 6.2, temporary sign regulations, Town Planning and Zoning Commission applicant, effective upon publication. 1A, permits for temporary ground signs in any commercial zone and in any building may be approved by the Town Planning and Zoning Commission for a 3-month period and may be renewed for one or more additional 3-month period. Permits for other temporary signage in any commercial zone may be approved by the Town Planning and Zoning Commission in accordance with section 6.2.1.
2.2.
Aye.
6.2.2I. 2I. Other temporary signage includes cold air inflatables, banners attached to the building not to exceed 2 in number. Banners shall be no larger than 1 square foot per each linear foot of the building frontage and may be displayed for not more than 50 days per year in increments of not more than 25 days. Not more than 1 ground-mounted cold air inflatable sign not to exceed 18 feet in height is permitted. No roof-mounted sign or cold air inflatable sign tethered to the roof is permitted. Other temporary signage may be permitted on multi-tenant buildings where not otherwise prohibited by these regulations. Findings. 1. CROG review. This amendment has been reviewed by CROG and found to contain no apparent conflict with the regional plans and policies of the concerns of neighboring towns. 2. Consistency with the POCD. Commercial signage is not mentioned in the 2010 POCD. However, this amendment is consistent with the following vision statement. Newington will continue to recognize that the quality of life in this community is influenced and enhanced by non-residential land uses that support the town's grand list. These uses are essential to the vibrant and economic successful community. Changes in zoning districts will be evaluated based on the characteristics of the surrounding area. Page 2. 3. Reasons for text amendment. This amendment will give businesses the ability to advertise their goods and services in a manner that is minimally burdensome, simple to enforce, and maintains the visual quality of the Berlin Turnpike and other areas in town.
Motion made and second. Any comments from the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I left one out. For temporary signs, paragraph K, we wanted to add the sentence, all such signs shall be removed within 30 days of sale or contract. So if you could make that the third of the 2 conditions?
Yeah.
What I just said? Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. Does the seconder agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're going to, when you advertise, this will be all
Yes, cleaned up.
cleaned up.
Yes.
Okay. No remarks by commissioners. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So there's unanimous vote of the
Unanimous,
commission.
okay.
So
Oh, I did not vote.
you did not vote?
You didn't ask for anyone nays.
Excuse me?
You didn't ask for any nays.
Okay, is there anyone not in favor of the regulation?
Aye.
Okay, it passes
still
3
passes.
to 1.
3 to 1,
Right. And it's still
Yes.
because the quorum is 4, we're still in a majority, so it does pass.
Yes.
Okay.
We can't believe that.
We'll go into the next application. The next draft motion, freestanding sign for the school.
Yeah, petition 28-17, special permit, section 6.2.4, freestanding sign at 320 Alumni Road, the Goddard School. Seema and Ronley Mavickley, 128 Thornton Drive, Newington, Connecticut, owner applicant contact. I move to approve petition 28-17, special permit, section 6.2.4, freestanding sign at 320 Alumni Road, the Goddard School. Seema and Ronley Mavicki, 128 Thornton Drive, Newington, Connecticut, owner applicant contact.
There's no
Second.
motion made and
Second.
seconded. Any comments from the commissioners? There's no conditions on this approval. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? It passes. So you're all set.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Pick up that permit tomorrow, I guess?
I'll be mailing it to you by certified mail, but you can pick it up if you want.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Okay, petitions for public hearing scheduling, turn it over to the town planner. There's one on the agenda, and there's 2 that we can talk about.
Yeah, and my cord fell out of my computer, and none of you noticed it. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Get that
You don't
picture.
expect me to climb over there, do you?
No.
You do that with such grace.
I can't even walk. Here you go.
That's the power button I was speaking of before the meeting. It's different than the other one.
Yeah.
And you said, no, it won't fit.
Agile for an old guy.
And it does fit, but it fell out.
Okay, why don't you go over?
Okay,
Mr.
so the first item, the first application that requires public hearing, which is on the agenda, is for the St. Thomas Indian Orthodox Church on Mountain Road. They'd like to build a little room for their priest who comes up on weekends for him to be allowed to be able to stay in, and this is allowed specifically in your regs. You do allow churches to have a little parish house type of thing attached to it. So I recommend that that the public hearing for that be held at your next meeting.
Any questions on that from the commissioners? No? Okay.
Okay. The other new item that just came in this week, and I recommend adding it to the agenda because it's pretty straightforward. Again, this is a church that wants to move into the commercial building at 2391 Berlin Turnpike.
Specifically, which, that
Victory.
2334 Berlin Turnpike is the O'Neill Plaza.
I'm sorry, 2434.
2434.
I'm sorry, I was reading from the wrong.
Berlin
I remember
Turnpike
the wrong one.
is O'Neill Plaza.
Correct.
So which tenant is moving out?
I don't know. It's a vacant space. That's all I know. I could find out who the previous
Enterprise.
tenant was.
Could be Enterprise.
How big of a,
They are, according to their letter, it's a small congregation. Our current attendance is 16 people. And there is enough parking associated with that space. Mike, the CEO, spent some time to make sure that this was eligible before we encouraged the applicant to proceed. Our current attendance is 16 people. There are 15 parking spaces available, which is enough to seat 30 people per our regulations. So there is enough parking under our regulations. If they do well and grow, they'll have to move, but that's a problem that they'd be happy to have to deal with. So I recommend this be that the hearing be held at the next meeting. Okay. And then the third one, which just came in tonight, is a zone change. This is a piece of property that actually came in for site plan approval earlier this month, but as I was doing my review of the plans, I discovered that, and the commissioners have a copy of the zone map, there's actually a little sliver of R12 land within their campus, so to speak. So they've submitted this application for a zone change, And if the zone change is favorable, they'll then proceed with site plan approval. In fact, I told the applicant I had no objection to conducting the zone change hearing, and on that same agenda, just do the review of the site plan, which obviously couldn't be approved if the zone change doesn't go forward, but I don't see any problem with doing them concurrently.
You have a question?
Payne.
I'll reserve my comments for the public hearing.
Yeah.
What property is this? Like, give me I think I know, but
Sculptures.
that little white building?
Puerto Vallarta.
Sculptures is in the back.
The
It's
big
right
one
next,
has sculptures, then the eyeglass
one right in
place.
front of it. It used to be a barber shop and a computer store.
Okay,
Right next to,
so that's
Mexican
one big,
restaurant.
that's huge, there's no map on it, it's hard to.
Yeah, I can,
So-
let me see if I can.
So sculptures actually enters and exits, just so I know, I'm enters and exits off Brockett, but the land itself is frontage is based on Berlin Turnpike, is that?
Yeah, hang on. Yeah, let me get the
it would
plans.
be the portion, it's the parcel that, on that map that
Is like
has the
light
two,
gray?
and you can't read the
Okay,
rest.
so that's which is that old white computer store.
Right.
And then there's that piece of sliver, which is that like where everyone would park from Puerto Vallarta. And then you have the parking lot to,
Want to look here? Okay.
oh, okay.
Okay, here's that house, I'll call
Okay.
it on the Berlin Turnpike.
Yep.
The house, the property goes all the way to the west and then jogs north. And then
Yep.
there's the property where the
Yep, gotcha.
Sculptures.
Okay, so the individual that owns Sculptures has bought this property and he wants to merge them and put some parking in here, but then we discovered that this area is R12 zone. So he needs to get a zone change for this area here.
I'd wait for public hearing.
He's parking, those parking places that are shown on the R12 portion are already there.
No, this is proposed.
No.
No.
That.
Oh, these up here?
Yeah, that's there.
They might
That's
be.
there.
That's
That's-
there.
Yeah, that's my sunglass, or where I get my glasses.
Can't be there.
Yes,
Well,
it
it's
is.
no, it's
Shouldn't it?
no,
Shouldn't be
they're
there,
shifted. That's wrong. Where that little box is, it says proposed up. See that little shoot. Move your cursor down a little bit. See, it says proposed addition. That's a parking lot right now. See over there where next to the sculptures,
Oh,
the
over
top
there.
right corner, that would be proposed because
Yeah, I think that's all grass now. In fact, if you
That's
give me a
grass
second,
now.
let me go to our,
it's grass.
let me see if I can, I'm still working on with this new system here. Yeah, I'm looking to see if I have a photograph, an aerial photograph of it. No, I don't. Well, wait, a complete plan set, yeah, yeah, so this should have the yeah, apparently
It's grass now.
it's grass for now.
Because that's where I sent you a note about a year
I
ago.
thought it was more, I thought those spaces were over more. Oh, okay. We'll look at it at the public
Right.
hearing.
Okay, so again, so I recommend that also be heard at your next meeting.
Any questions from the commissioners? Any comments?
I was just wondering where it
Okay,
was.
then we'll put those, those three items will be on for public hearing. Town planners report, or?
Right, yeah. I had no written report, but I just wanted to bring you up to date on the town engineer status, which is simply that we're still in the process of looking for town engineer. We had several good applicants. The town manager is in the process of talking to them and trying to find one that will come and work for us.
Okay.
I don't think I had a written report this week. Right.
Communications,
I don't have any.
we did public participation, marks by commissioners. Being none, closing remarks by the chairman. Just wanted to make sure that we get those, we start with those the signs for the nonprofits. So we want to make sure that she gets that letter.
Come up with some way to do signs. You'll work with the Chamber of Commerce on that?
No,
I mean, the EDC?
Yeah,
EDC?
and you should
Right.
maybe have Mike and you take a real quick look at the map for what town pieces of property we might be able to assign like that, to give them some input.
Okay, good.
I don't have anything else, so motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I gotta say opposed because I didn't say it before. Okay.